So last night, John Boy wanted to make a stink about a picture of a woman at last night's Giants Mets game, or shall I say Friday night's Giants Mets game, since it's now technically early Sunday morning, wearing a scarf and wearing two scarves, it looks like. And Talking Baseball, which is the John Boy Baseball page, tweets out, quote, brutal to have a July baseball game where you need to dress like this. Are you serious? Come on, really? Are you serious? This is the time of the year where it's really hot, especially in your neck of the woods, John Boy, New York, where it's hot and humid, muggy. It's horrible. And a year ago, we were going through our worst summer heat-wise ever here in Sacramento. And a year ago this weekend, I was at the Giants, actually a year ago now today, the 27th, I was at that Saturday doubleheader between the Giants and Rockies. And we were not just having our worst heat wave. I'm talking about temperatures in the high 110s. It was awful. And getting to sit in the seats under the marine layer with a jacket on just weeks after having to endure this 110-degree heat, it was such a treat. And it's a treat for anyone who has to endure a hot summer at any location in this country. Especially, you should know this more than anyone, John Boy, in New York, where it's muggy. It's not just hot, but it's humid. It's sticky. You know, it's the kind of weather where you take a shower, you walk outside for 10 minutes, and then you have to take another shower. And actually, here in Northern California, we've been treated to one of the more mild summers ever here in 2025. It's been somewhat of a treat. Kyle Foster, who's here in the comments, saying, I didn't sweat at the 4th of July tournament. Exactly. It's been a real treat to have this cool and mild summer. I have loved it. We've had nothing but highs in the 80s all week in Sacramento. However, the one thing I will grant is that with the cold and the fog, the Giants offense has gone back to sleep. Good, very early morning, everybody. I'm Steven Ruderman with your Insomniac Lunatic Fringe Giants postgame show. And it is truly the Insomniac Lunatic Fringe since I'm doing my postgame show at 12:15 in the morning. Last night, after the Giants finally came to life in the final two games in Atlanta, shutting out the Braves 9-0 on Tuesday and then beating them 9-3 Wednesday, they scored one run in a brutal 8-1 loss on Friday night. Logan Webb, who had a very unstable outing in Toronto, was able to get out of jams before giving up 4 runs in the bottom of the 6th inning last Saturday. Webb on Friday gave up 6 runs in just 4 innings, so the Giants lose 8-1. Last night, and this is the game we're talking about now, the Giants lost 2-1. The Giants offense has gone back asleep. They've been limited to just a run a game in the first 2 games of the series, 2 runs total. And the Mets beat the Giants by a final of 2-1. Now, Robbie Ray was okay, went 5 2/3 innings, but it was the walks that really hurt him. Primarily walks to Juan Soto and Starling Marte in the top of the 6th inning. Mark Viente lined to double down the left field line. That gave the Mets a 2-1 lead. That would prove to be all the Mets would need. The Giants wasted a lot of opportunities tonight. So David Peterson, he made the start for the Metropolitans. He gave up 8 hits in 6 innings, but just 1 run. Bottom of the 1st, the Giants had runners at 1st and 2nd with 1 out, but Matt Chapman lines one to Mark Vientos, who leaps up to make the catch at 3rd, and then he doubles off Devers at 2nd. Bottom of the 2nd, Giants have runners at 1st and 2nd. Luis Matos grounds into a 4-6-3 double play. Bottom of the 4th, the Giants were able to score a run, but it was on a fielder's choice. And it was actually beating out the back end of a potential double play. It was actually the one at bat at which Jung-Hoo Lee didn't get a hit tonight. Jung-Hoo Lee went 3 for 4, including a double in the 9th, which against the Mets closer Edwin Diaz, spoiler alert, they wasted. And I'm not here to rip on the Giants. The Giants caught a lot of bad luck tonight. They had a lot of balls on the screws, like Chapman's line drive double play in the bottom of the 1st inning. And the Mets are just a good team. It is frustrating. The Giants offense does seem to have gone back to sleep, and they did waste some opportunities. It was a combination of bad luck and just wasting some opportunities. So I'm not letting them completely off the hook. But it's just one of those things where, Kyle, this has been a lot like 2014. In 2014, the Giants got off to their dominant 42-21 start, and then they had the horrible stretch from June 9th to August 25th, in which there were times they'd put together a good week. They won 6 out of 7 at the All-Star break that year, and you thought they were back, only for them to just sputter again and make it and look like there was no light at the end of the tunnel. We've had this happen a couple times here. The 7-game winning streak last month, winning 7 of 9 at the beginning of this month. Those 2 wins in Atlanta, I didn't declare them back, but they sure made me feel a lot better. And then they just score 1 run a game in the first 2 games against the Mets in what is a big 3-game series. And they lose the first 2. They're now back to just being 3 games over 500 at 54 and 51. And it's these kind of losses that make you question, does this team have it in them? I mean, I still believe this team can get to the postseason. But there comes a point where time is going to be running out. Thankfully, the Padres lost, I think, 4 in a row. They won tonight, or shall I say last night, in St. Louis. So the Giants are only 2 back of the Padres. Thank God for 3 wild cards, huh? Even in the 2 wild card format, things would not be good for the Giants at the moment. So I'll put the standings on the screen here. The Giants are 2 back. The Phillies have the second wild card spot, and they are 6.5 games ahead of the Giants. So if we were still under the 2 wild card format and with the Giants treading just barely over 500, there's a good chance the Giants would possibly even be sellers at the deadline coming up on Thursday. And by the way, I'm thinking I'm going to do a live deadline show at 2:30 on Thursday, but nothing's official on that yet. I want to get a guest or 2 in order and just make sure I know for sure what I'm doing Thursday. So thank God for the 3rd wild card. Thanks, Rob Manfred. I'll give it to you this one time. But the Giants do need to truly get hot and not just together a good week, but just truly been back, which they have not been at any point in the stretch going back to May 9th. Kyle says Buster needs to add another bat and a starter. Bullpen is fine. I would agree with that. Just don't trade too much from the farm for that. Speaking of which, I did not watch the game tonight. I followed on game day because I was in the secondary press box at Sutter Health Park, which is actually quite a treat when it's the Rivercats who are playing. It's a shame that no one shows up to the Rivercats games. It was only barely over 4,000 tonight at Sutter Health Park. I wanted to go see Bryce Eldridge, see the real deal for myself, and throughout this week I was saying, oh, he could come up in August and he could make a real impact when he gets called up in August. Settle down there, Steven. Not happening. I saw him. I talked to some people about him, and I saw him, and the obvious consensus was he's just not ready yet. He's only played, 30-something games in Sacramento. He came into tonight's game hitting .233, went 0 for 2 with a pair of walks and a pair of strikeouts, and he got fooled on a pitch in which he struck out looking on his final time up in the bottom of the 8th. He's just not ready yet. And I know JT Snow really wants the Giants to call him up. I mean, he was advocating for the Giants bringing him up on opening day. The Giants let's not rush this guy up. This guy has the potential to be a real star. Let's have him up when he's fully ready. And it's definitely not going to be next month. And there's a good chance it may not even be this year. That's okay. He's a good ball player because when you rush a guy up and they struggle, it's just going to mess with their confidence. And I agree with you, Kyle. It sounds like 2026 for him, and that's okay. The guy's a really good ball player. He looked really smooth at first base. He's 6'7", by the way. He's got a little bit of that Brandon Belt in him, that tall, lanky, skinny guy. But don't rush it with this guy. And if keeping him down is what cost you a trip to the playoffs this year, don't sacrifice the future for one season. And I was saying on my show the other night, Elliot Ramos is going to be 26 next year. I feel like Ramos is really going to have his big breakout season next year. And Eldridge, Ramos, and Jung-Hoo Lee could be a trio akin to that of Bonds, Kent, and Ellis Burks. Don't ruin that. Don't ruin that. Don't waste it. Don't rush him up here. If he gets hot in August and can swing the bat consistently well, not just for 1 week, but maybe 2 to 4 weeks, then maybe call him up in September. Though even then, I might be a little hesitant to do so because you never know what will happen if he comes up and then has a hard time in the big leagues. But don't rush the guy. It's as plain and simple as that. The good news is, in terms of the Giants right now, Jung-Hoo Lee's definitely been swinging the bat better. He went 3 for 4 tonight, as I mentioned. Wilmer had a 2 for 4 night. All but 3 guys who started at hits. Schmidt took an 0 for 3. Matos an 0 for 3. He was pinch hit for by Mike Yastrzemski, who I think flew out in the ninth. And then Andrew Kisner, he took an 0 for 2. Bailey pinch hit, and actually, he lined out. I think he lined out to end the game. And the problem with Lee, who got off to a great start, is that Lee, who was using all sides of the field during his great start, was just getting pull happy. It looks like he's been doing a better job of using other sides of the field recently. He's still been a little pull happy, but not as much as he was at the tail end of the first half. But as I mentioned, Matt Chapman with a hit tonight, almost 2. Willie Adames with a hit, of course. Rafi Devers with a hit. He's looking better. And maybe it's me, Kyle, but Rafi Devers is looking less hurt. And Elliot Ramos, 1 for 4 night. His average up to 270. You know what Ramos really reminds me of? And I would agree with this. Kyle says move Lee back to leadoff. I'd agree with that. Giants need a true leadoff hitter. Jung-Hoo Lee is that. You know what you really need, and I'm a true believer in this, is having a set lineup every single night. That's what really carried the Giants to the World Series in 2002, is that Dusty Baker had the set lineup every night. Every night it was the same lineup. I'm a strong believer in putting out the same lineup every night. I would Lee lead off. Rafi Devers could be a good 2-hitter. Here's Lee, Adames, Devers. Yeah, actually, you know what? I think you're right. Adames is a better 2-hitter than Devers. Chapman, Ramos. That sounds like a good lineup to me. Lee, Adames, Devers, Chappie, and Ramos. I could go for that lineup right there. By the way, Tyler Fitzgerald looked really good tonight. He had a 3-hit night, including a home run. If the Giants want to call him back up, I'd be all good for that. I think he could make a real impact. You don't want to send someone like Casey Schmidt down, but I think Tyler Fitzgerald definitely is a very valuable part of this team. He's a utility guy who can play all parts of you can play infield and outfield. Call Tyler Fitzgerald back up. But yeah, having that set lineup. Bob Melvin, maybe after, because the deadline, as I said, we're at the time of the year now where it is just being established who the contenders are, who's going to be in it, and who's not going to be in it. And that will truly be established the trade deadline Thursday. When the Giants start their road trip Friday in Queens, and as we start that third stage of the season where it's truly go time, Melvin should take Thursday to, of course, wait and see what Buster does. And then once the deadline comes and goes, the Giants will be in their hotel, probably in Manhattan. Melvin needs to just relax, maybe with a drink, whatever kind of alcohol he likes to drink, whether it's a glass of wine, whether it's a beer, or whether he's a hard liquor kind of guy. I'm thinking Melvin's going to be more like a wine or a hard liquor kind of guy. And just kind of sit there and ponder about a good, consistent lineup he can run out there the rest of the way. Now, granted, I'm doing this post-game show having not watched the game, so I apologize for that, but I had a good reason because I went and saw Bryce Eldridge at Sutter Health Park, but I do want to put my thoughts in after the Giants dropped the first 2 in the series to the Mets. Apparently, according to Kyle, Devers had an adventure at first base tonight. He's still better than Wilmer over there. Do explain that adventure for me, Kyle. But I got sidetracked here, but Elliot Ramos, and I like Elliot Ramos, but you know who he is the true reincarnation of? Reggie Sanders. He's a good hitter. He's a damn good hitter. But if you want to strike him out, just throw him the high fastball. Just get him to go up the ladder and you'll strike him out. I mean, I swear I am dead serious when I tell you he is the reincarnation of Reggie Sanders. Talented outfielder, good defender, good hitter, just talented all around ball player, but just strikes out way too much on the high fastball. He, Elliot Ramos is truly the modern day Reggie Sanders, and it's all right. It's all right. No, I wouldn't say today, now that it's Sunday, is a must win, but it kind of feels like one. You don't want to be 2 games under or 2 games over 500, and you definitely don't want to get swept in this big series against the Mets and what could be a postseason preview. But it's possible it could happen. Matt Gage is going to take the ball for the Giants today. It's a 4:10 start. I do want to address something. I said the other day I would be at today's game. I lied. I'm not going to be. A friend of mine, actually a guest on this show, Ben Romero, was planning to go to today's game. He was going to be my ride. He's got other obligations, so he's unable to make it, which is all good. So I'll just be enjoying the game from the comfort of my own home here in Sacramento. Maybe Ben can make it up to me by joining me on my trade deadline special Thursday. And if not, well, he doesn't have to make it up to me because he's a good guy and it's not really his fault. And maybe I'm the guy. Maybe I shouldn't be relying on him for a ride to the city. That's true. 4:10 start. Used to be 5 o'clock. Now it's 4 o'clock. Sunday night baseball on ESPN, which will most likely have a new home next year. Though I know Rob Manfred has made it sound like perhaps ESPN could stay aboard next year. Matt Gage is going to take the ball. He pitched an inning Friday night. I assume he's going to be the opener. Cody Senga is going to take the ball for the Mets. The Giants may get swept. It's not going to be pretty, but it's not going to be the end of the world either. The good news is they're going to have 3 games against the Pirates. So the Pirates have been playing good ball lately. They swept the Tigers. And how about the Tigers? They've lost 12 of their last 13. They were 14 up on the Guardians. Now they're just 7 up. And they've taken 2 or 3. Or they take 2 or 3, or have they taken 1? They've taken 1 against the Diamondbacks. They're playing decent ball. So, I'll say this. If the Giants go from 12 games over 500 to under 500, it happened in 1987. First week of August, they were 2 games under 500 after a great start that year. They were just really bombarded by injuries that year, but they got it together. They won 90 games, won the division, and got within a game of the World Series. Let's hope it doesn't get to the point where the Giants are under 500, but I feel like the day the Giants really just need to be ready to go is going to be Friday in New York. We're at the point now where get to the trade deadline, make your moves, have Bob Melvin sit over his glass of wine or his glass of gin. Though I hope not gin, because gin just has a really foul smell. Maybe rum or vodka. Or whiskey. Nothing wrong with whiskey. I don't know. Melvin may be a bourbon guy. Who knows? Sit over your glass of whatever. Ponder a good, consistent lineup to put out every day going forward, and just be ready to go on August 1st in New York. I'll have already laughed my ass off watching Naked Gun in the theaters that day. Hopefully, I'm going to try and get tickets to that. I imagine they won't sell out. And the Giants players should go. Team matinee at the movies. Laugh your asses off watching Naked Gun, and then come to the ballpark at Citi Field and be ready to go. So the Giants will have played 109 games. Just have a good, consistent lineup and be ready to go. You're going to have your set team. Moves will have been made at the deadline. Just have your set team and have a set, consistent lineup ready to put out every day as the Giants go into their final 53 games. I do believe in this team, and I do believe this team will make a run and go to the playoffs, that they will get their act together, and that we will see this team play consistent, winning baseball just as they did in the first 38 games of the season. But it does need to happen in August, in my opinion. You can't wait till September to have that happen. Devin says, who's a big Diamondbacks fan, Phil gets Suarez, I'll be happy. As I was saying the other night, Diamondbacks are going to want big prospects for Suarez, and all the Giants have in terms of big prospects. is Bryce Eldridge. Suarez would be cool, but as Kyle said, the Giants already have too many options at third base. DH is filled, and you only have Bryce Eldridge. You don't want to give up Eldridge. Eldridge is an untouchable. So unfortunately, the Giants will have to pass on. It would be best, unfortunately, if the Giants pass on Eugenio Suarez. So as I said, the Giants may lose tonight. They may end up getting swept. It will suck. They'll be just 2 games over 500 for the first time since March 31st. It's baseball. It's a long 162 game grind every year, except for 1981 and 2020, and probably except for 2027. I'm cautiously optimistic we'll get some sort of truncated baseball season, but I'm telling you, we're not going to get a full 162 game season that year. Anyway, let's not get focused on that tangent. It's a long 162 game grind. You have your ups and downs. We knew this was not going to be a cakewalk to the postseason. And the one thing I will tell you right now, this thing's going to come down to the final week. The good news is, guess who the Giants have their final 3 games against? At home, might I add. The Rockies. And Kyle, hey, he's been the one consistent voice of reason here. The Giants are fine. I'm still not worried. As I said the other night, I tell myself I've been through this numerous times over the years, and I have been around a long time, and I lied to myself and told myself I'm not going to let the emotions of an 162 game season get to me anymore. Boy, was I wrong, and boy, was I lying to myself. Because as the Giants have had their struggles over the last several weeks, it has been hard to fully maintain the faith. Going from 12 games over 500 to just 4 games over 500, and then 3 games over 500. That's going to test your patience. It's going to test your faith in a team, especially when they have looked as bad as they have at some of their lowest points. Now, of course, Monday night in Atlanta, that was rock bottom. And let's hope that remains rock bottom. But as I mentioned, it's a long grind, and probably at this point, it doesn't matter how many times I go through this. Doesn't matter how many times I go through the long 162 game grind. I will probably never be able to keep my cool throughout its entirety and just keep the faith 100%. Some people are better at that than I am. Kyle said tonight was just bad luck. It was. The Giants definitely wasted some opportunities, but they also hit into some bad luck. Matt Chapman's line drive double play to end the first. Patrick Bailey's line out to end the game. And as I said, the Giants may get swept. Mets are just playing really good baseball right now. They're a really good team. I don't think they have the best clubhouse with Juan Soto, but Giants run into a hot team. Now, the Giants are going to have to beat the hot teams, but I think they can, and I think they will. They may get swept by the Mets. Just be ready to go against the Pirates and just truly be ready to go once we get to August, once we get to the dog days of summer, Friday night in New York. So as I mentioned, Matt Gage will be the opener for the Giants. Kodai Senga will go for the Metropolitans tonight. First pitch will be at 4:10 Pacific, 6:10 or 5:10 Mountain, 6:10 Central, and 7:10 Eastern. For Kyle Foster and Devin Cordova, who kindly contributed in the comments. For my boss, Lee Leonard at Sports Radio Service, because the Insomniac Lunatic Fringe is now a Sports Radio Service production. I'm Steven Ruderman. I hope you enjoyed this Insomniac Lunatic Fringe Giants post-game show for Sports Radio Service. I will talk to you after the game tonight. And until then, have a good day, folks.